Hi everybody, Dr. Amy Spoelstra. I want to give a focus tip or a neurodeflective disorder tip for you and your families, but also one that you practitioners, you should definitely share this information with your patients because this time of year can be really challenging for everybody, but especially for kids and families who struggle with neurodeflective disorders. So things like anxiety, social anxiety, behavioral learning, socialization challenges, autism spectrum disorder, ADD, ADHD. This time of year, because of the increased demand, the schedule changes, the sensory demand, the excitement, the good, the bad, all of it can be really challenging for people, and particularly these kids, and so their whole family unit. So a few tips, we'll do two videos on this to give two different sets of tips, but here's some really specific things that families can do to better meet children and adults where they are this time of year by making really specific and small modifications to how we move through this holiday season to reduce the demand of processing, reduce the stress, and improve just everybody's joy and ability to move through this season without a bunch of stress, without being really shifted and stuck in that fight or flight. So here's a couple things. One of the things I hear a lot from parents and families with kids with neurodeflective challenges or disorders is that it can be really challenging when they decorate the house. The first thing is it's really exciting to decorate the house, to get all the lights up and all the decorations, and then to start putting presents under the tree. Now I know for all kids and all people, I know probably for a lot of us adults too, it's really exciting, it's fun to see the presents under the table or under the tree and to see all this stuff changing and to have the anticipation of like, what's in that? I'm really excited, I want it now. That's pretty typical, but you have to remember that when we have an individual with a neurodeflective disorder or behavioral learning and socialization challenge, one of the things that's really difficult is being able to live outside of the here and now and really predict the future. So prediction skills or that prediction capacity is really decreased. So then we have a scenario where we've increased the sensory demand because we have changed the house. Some families can't do that at all. That's too much of a stress. And there's a reason for that. Some families can, and we have changed we have lights blinking, we have all this sensory input coming in all the time. So we're increasing demand of just processing in general, which maybe is absolutely fine, but we have to understand that it does give us another layer of complexity just in living in this space. Then we start putting the presents under the tree, and so what's happening is we have an individual that's not really operating efficiently from a whole brain perspective, seeing the future, having appropriate prediction, but more of an impulsive here and now, more of the bottom of the brain. And so not only is that going to be exciting, but it's going to be really challenging. We've had kids that, parents are getting upset with them and the kids are getting in trouble because they just can't handle it and they steal the presents and they take them into the room and they open them, or they hide them, or they just cannot get the concept. It's just too much of a stress on the whole family that the presents are there and in 2 weeks we're going to open them, or 2 days or whatnot. So one, understand this isn't just a behavior, right? When it goes more than just, hey, this is exciting, we all get excited, we all want the presents, to, hey, this has become an issue in our family and it looks like a behavior, I want you to decrease the demand of that processing. Now, of that prediction. And so what I want you to do is, one, maybe in your family you don't put the presents under the tree, and that's not a bad thing. Look, you don't have to participate in all the traditions. You're not failing if you're doing things and you're modifying things in your family to meet where your children and where your family are in their ability to process their world. That's not a fail. I give you permission, I tell you, to understand it's not just a behavior. Your kids are not broken. Sometimes we may need to modify things just a little bit to better meet them where they are now and help them move forward with the clinical components of what we do to help them have a better expression of life in the future. But now let's not have expectations that are here that do not meet where they are processing wise. So if you have that, if that's too much of a stress on your family, don't put presents under your tree. don't do it. Do it just the night of Christmas or whenever you do that, however that works in your family. Or shorten the time. Maybe you only start putting presents out or talking about gifts 2 days before you're going to do the gifts, or 1 week before, or the night before. So there's not as much of this need to really predict and see the future that is causing this increased demand on this individual that doesn't predict and see the future well. Again, if you make modifications, if you don't decorate the house, because it creates too much of a stress and the sensory demand for this individual, adult, or child living in that environment, that's okay. Know that that is just a window into how they're processing their world now. And if we're creating an environment that is just way too much of a demand for them to process, why do we have to do that? Who says that we have to follow that tradition? I am giving you permission and asking you to understand that all behavior is a window into the brain. So we need to understand this time of year in particular can be very stressful, very exciting, but very stressful. The longer that we are in the sustained stress, increased demand in the sensory prediction, all of these realms, the more that we're going to see the deflective behavior. When we transition from this is not just an excitement or a little bit of a challenge, this has become a really big deflective behavior and is causing challenges for my child, for my family. Let's make modifications. Here's a few simple ones. We're going to start with understand that we don't see the future well, so shorten that up a little bit. Talk about how we do these traditions, we do these presents, and we do them in a shorter time frame or right before. Do not have the expectation that it's okay or we have to have the presents out or whatever it is. Talk about what's going to be happening for 2 weeks before the exciting event happens. And 2, understand that you may have too much of an increased sensory demand based on the decorations and things that are going on. In other videos, we're going to talk about really specific things like on a day-to-day basis that you can do as well. So start there, do this yourself, share this with your patients. Let's help everybody have a better expression of life by understanding that behaviors are windows into the brain, and we can make the holiday season even more enjoyable by understanding that we don't have bad kids, we just maybe are not meeting them where they are in processing. Have a great season.